Hello there. We are continuing with our training sessions and we'll still be using this Lev Alburt chess training packet book. So without any further ado, let's start with the puzzle number 1. Okay, this is the position. This time it's black turns to move. So please be free to pause the video now and try to find the best continuation for black in this position. Okay, solution to this puzzle is the typical maneuver and typical mating pattern in which the bishop and the queen deliver checkmate. So if you didn't see this pattern before, you should memorize it because it's a very useful pattern and it can be applied in several different situations and positions. So we start with bishop takes h2 check. The only legal move is king h1. Now bishop delivers discovered check and at the same time attacking f2, which is very important. So bishop g3 check. The only legal move for king is king to g1. And now queen delivers check here on h2. So queen h2 check. The only legal move for king is f1, and then queen takes f2 and checkmate. So this is the solution to this puzzle. A very familiar pattern if you know it. And now we can try to think even more about it. So the feature of this position is that this f2 is unprotected. So once you do your thing, you can just deliver checkmate on f2. But what if for example, f2 is, what would happen if f2 was protected? So, for example, if there is a white knight on d1. So in this scenario, maybe you cannot deliver checkmate because f2 square is now protected, but you can also do some serious damage just combining your bishop and the queen. So, for example, you can play bishop to h2 check, and now after king h1, you can do some discovery checks, some other kind of discovery checks with your bishop. So, for example, bishop e5 check here, and so after the king moves, you can just pick up the rook, for example. So anyway, in this the point is that in this position, even if you don't have this mating pattern, you can force the situation into discovered check, and you can do some damage. So, for example, here you can see that this rook is defended by this queen, and you can just cut the lifeline. This is how it's called. So you cut the lifeline, you cut the communication between king and the queen, and then you can just cash in on material. Okay. Let's now go to the next position. Okay, this is the position. It's white turn to move. So please be free to pause the video now and see if you can find the best continuation for white. Okay, now the main feature of this position is again back rank mate. You can see that whenever these pawns are intact, and especially if the rooks are not connected, like here, so you can see that rooks are not connected, that means that the back rank is defended only by one rook. And for example, you can imagine if this bishop wasn't here, then queen can deliver a check, for example, because it cannot be captured, because it will be recaptured with a checkmate. It would not be a forcing mate, but just to see the consequence of rooks being unconnected. Okay, so this is a back rank mating pattern. Again, you just need to think and to calculate how to exploit this. So first we look at the most forcing moves, checks, and there is this check which is in fact winning. So queen to f8 check. King has to capture because it's the only legal move, and now you can just deliver check with bishop to c5, and you can see that this king cannot go here because this rook is controlling the file, so king has to move away, and rook just delivers checkmate. So this is another example of back rank mate. So let's do it again. So you notice that rooks are not connected and that there can be some back rank weaknesses, and this is how you start calculating. Check, only legal move, check, only legal move again, and then checkmate. Okay, let's now go to the position number 3. Okay, this is the position. It's white turn to move. So please pause the video now and see if you can find the best continuation for white in this position. Okay, so you can see that the end game here is very interesting. So white is obviously up material because white has an exchange. So each side has 3 pawns, but black has a rook for a bishop. So in this kind of positions, you need to know that the rook is much stronger than a bishop, especially if you have the passed pawn. If you can achieve the passed pawn and you have a rook against the bishop, it's usually the one endgame. So having that in mind, the solution of this problem is to exchange queens. So once you exchange queens, then you have the rook against bishop, and with the passed pawn, and this should be a win. So you need to exchange queens, and here you can forcibly exchange queens by the cost of the pawn, and this in fact wins the endgame. So in order to solve this, you need to know a little bit of endgame theory, but I don't mean technical theory, but just some general endgame principles, like stated rook being stronger than bishop. So the solution is queen to d4, check, and now after king moves to g8, king to d5, check, and this forces the exchange of queens. So queen takes queen, pawn takes queen, and takes pawn. So now you have sacrificed the pawn, but you have passed pawn, you have the rook against the bishop, and this should be a winning endgame. And you don't have to calculate any further. So you just can rely on your knowledge that this is a win. And now you just need to play accurately, and you will win. So for example, this is how this game ended. So b4, the principle in the end game is one of the main principles is that passed pawns should be pushed. So if you can safely push the passed pawn, do it. He tries to bring his king f8, but you just keep pushing your pawn. King e8, v6, so just pushing. And now the king cannot go any further, because now if the king goes to the d file, then the rook will just pin the bishop, and then it's really game over, because either black will lose the bishop or allow the promotion of the pawn. So in this position, black has to move away the bishop, but of course keeping the d7 square under control. But now simply white can play rook to c7, king can try to come closer to the passed pawn, and now white is just can just start harvesting black's pawns. You can see that the king is stuck on the back rank. It cannot attack the pawn is on the dark square, it cannot be attacked, and now white can easily penetrate with king, or it can try just to harvest the rest of the black's pawns, and this pawn cannot be touched, so it's a clear endgame win for white here. Okay, let's move on to the fourth and the last position. Okay, so this is the position. It's black turn to move now, so please be free to pause the video and try to find the best continuation for black in this position. Okay, so this is another mating pattern, which involves mating with the bishop and the rook. The similar mating pattern is used in the famous Paul Morphy's opera game. So it's all with the bishop and the rook. It's all very similar. So if you know the pattern, then you will be able to find the solution. The solution is sacrificing the queen. So queen to f1, check. And now once king captures the queen, you can see that there is an option for the discovered check, and you can do this discovered check with bishop d3 check. And now the king has to move, and this is famous Morphy style mate. So when the bishop is protecting the rook in this manner. This is the mate. So just in order to solve this, you need to know this pattern. So if you, for example, if you ever analyzed this polymorphis, sorry, if you ever analyzed the games of Paul Morphy and the opera game, you can be able to see this this pattern very quickly, and then it's easy to find a solution. So queen to f1 check, king takes f1, bishop to d3 check, and then this beautiful Morphy mate. Okay, this would be it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you are learning something. I hope that you are hitting pause button and try to think about these positions, because I really think this will be very useful for your progress, for your chess, because we are going through many different kinds of positions, from opening traps, endgame studies, small endgame studies, and everything else involved, obviously tactical patterns and so on. Okay, this is it for today. We will continue this series. Of course, today I am playing Lone Wolf game, so I think the next video will be the analysis of the game, which I will play later today in the evening. Okay, thanks again for watching, and see you very soon. Cheers.